Welcome to Math with Mr. Dobrescu to the rescue. Today we are going to learn how to solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides. This is our objective for today's lesson, and this is where all the assignments are going to be. And let's look at the warm-up for today's lesson. We have 3x minus 21 equals 2x plus 5. So as you see, we have variables on both sides. So our first step would be to bring all the variables to one side of the equation. What do you think is the best way to do that? Should we subtract 2x on both sides, or should we subtract 3x on both sides? What do you think we should do in order for us to keep the variable to be positive? And yes, of course, we should subtract 2x on both sides so that we can keep the variable to be positive. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. And let's see what's going to happen. 2x and negative 2x cancel each other out. So we are left over with 3x minus 2x becomes 1x minus 21 equals 5, positive 5. And now we have just one step equation. And now we are going to add 21 on both sides in order for us to get the variable to be by itself. So let's add 21 on both sides. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. Negative 21 and positive 21 cancel each other out. So we have x equals 21 plus 5, we get 26. And this is our final answer. And let's just quickly check our answer. To check our answer, we are going to plug 26 for x in the original equation. So if I multiply 26 times 3 minus 21 should give us exactly as 2 times 26 plus 5. If you check, we are going to get a true statement. We're not going to do this right now because we practiced this for a while. Let's look at example number 2. We have 6x minus 64 equals 2x plus 44. Again, the first question would be, what should we do? Should we subtract 6x or should we subtract 2x? What do you think will give us a positive variable? And of course, if we subtract 2x would be better. So let's subtract 2x on both sides in order for us to get all the variables to the left side of the equation. Let's see what's going to happen. 6x minus 2x becomes 4x minus 64 equals, of course, 2x and negative 2x cancel out, and we get 44. Now we have two-step equations, and now we are going to add 64 on both sides. Remember what I told you guys before, 64 is by itself, 4 and x, 4 has a pair, so the number without the pair goes home first, right? So let's add 64 on both sides. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. 64 and negative 64 cancel each other out. So we get 4x equals 64 plus 44. Let's add 4 plus 4 is 8 and 6 plus 4 is 10. 108. And finally, class, what do you think we should do? We have 4 times x equals 108. And remember, opposite of multiplication is division. So we are going to divide both sides by 4. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. And now 4 and 4 simplifies out. So we get x equals 108 divided by 4. We can do this in our head, but let's do it here by the side. 108 divided by 4. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. Let's subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down the 8. How many times 4 goes into 28? 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Perfect. So we got 27 as the final answer. This is our solution. And of course, if you want to check to make sure we got the right answer, we will plug 27 into the x in the original equation. 6 times 27 minus 64 should equal 2 times 27 plus 44. Okay? Plug it in, and we are going to get the right answer. Perfect. Let's look to this board now. Today's lesson, we are going to learn how to solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides. So as you see, this equation is a little bit more complicated because we have more things here in the equation. Take a look. We have p minus 1 equals 5p plus 3p minus 8. And let's have some steps for this equation. Step number 1. The first step would be to see if we have any parentheses. If we would have had parentheses, we would use the distributive property first. But because we don't have any parentheses, our step would be to try to combine the like terms. In our word map and whatever we learned so far, we didn't have any like terms to combine. But here in this problem, we see that we have 5p and 3p on the same side of the equation. So we need to combine those terms first. So let's circle 5p and positive 3p, and we are going to combine those terms first. So step number 1 would be to combine like terms first. That's our first step. So 5p plus 3p becomes 8p minus 8 equals p minus 1. P minus 1. Now, it's a simple equation, just similar to what we learned earlier. Now we have variables on both sides. And the question is, what's better to do? Should we subtract 8p or subtract 1p from both sides? So obviously, it's better to subtract 1p from both sides in order for us to keep the variables to be positive. And let's see what's going to happen. Positive p and negative p cancel each other out. So we are left over with negative 1 equals 8p minus 1p becomes 7p minus 8. And now we have two-step equations. And again, it doesn't matter which side of the equation the variable is. So let's keep the variable to the right side of the equation. So we need to add 8 on both sides. Let's bring 8 to the other side. So let's add 8 on both sides. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. Negative 8, positive 8 cancel each other out. That's exactly what we wanted. Positive 8 minus 1 becomes 7. So we have 7 equals 7p. And now, in order for us to get the final answer, we are going to divide both sides by 7. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. 7 divided by 7 becomes a 1. So we get p equals 7 divided by 7 becomes a 1. And this is our final answer. And let's go back here to the steps. Step number 2 was to do what? We subtracted p from both sides. Subtract p from both sides. And step number 3 was what? We added 8 on both sides. So add 8 on both sides. By the addition property of when we solve the equations, right? Addition property of equality. And step number 4, we divided both sides by 7 by the division property of equality. So divide 7 on both sides. So Well, not that complicated, right? You just do it step by step. Again, please remember to combine like terms first and then do step by step until we find the answer. Let's take a look at another example here. Take a look at this example here. So in this example, we have 2 times 4x minus 3 minus 8 equals 4 plus 2x. Step number 1. Remember, earlier I told you guys that if we have parentheses, we need to use the distributive property, right? So let's write distributive property first, right? So we are going to use the distributive property first. So let's draw the arrows from 2 to 4x and from 2 to negative 3. We are going to distribute 2 over 4x and 2 to negative 3. And let's do that. Each arrow represents a multiplication. So we are going to multiply 2 times 4x becomes 8x. 2 times negative 3, remember positive times a negative becomes a negative. 2 times 3, 6, minus 8 equals 4 plus 2x. So far, so good. That was step number 1. Step number 2. Remember, step number 1 would be to use the distributive property. Step number 2 would be to combine the like terms. Do we have any like terms here? Like terms have to be on the same side of the equal sign. And as you see, to the left side of the equation, we see negative 6 and negative 8 are like terms. So let's combine negative 6 and negative 8. If you have 6 negatives and we add 8 more negatives, we are going to get how many negatives? 14 negatives, right? So that's going to become negative 14. So we have 8x minus 14 equals 4 plus 2x. So step number 2 was to combine like terms. And we did. We combined negative 6 and negative 8. Step number 3, remember we have to bring all the variables to one side of the equations by, again, what's better to do? Subtract 2x or subtract 8x. And of course, it's better to subtract 2x in order for us to keep the variable positive. So let's subtract 2x on both sides. Both sides. Again, by the subtraction property of equality. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. And let's see what's going to happen. 8x minus 2x becomes 6x minus 14 equals 4, because 2x and negative 2x cancel each other out. Let's continue to step number 4. Step number 4 now would be to add 14 on both sides. 14 has to go home. So we need to bring 14 on the other side. So add 14 on both sides. Let's do that. Whatever we do to one side, we got to do to the other side. And let's see what's going to happen. Negative 14 and positive 14 cancel each other out. So we get 6x equals 14 plus 4 becomes 18. And finally, our last step would be to divide both sides by 6. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. Okay, so 6 and 6 cancel out. So step number 5 was to divide both sides by 6. And now we see that x equals 18 over 6. X equals 18 over 6. And of course, this is not going to give us a perfect number, whole number, because we have 6 does not go into 18, or does it? It does go. Just checking if you guys are paying attention. 6 times what gives you 18? And of course, 6 times 3 equals 18. So finally, x, we can say, equals 3. Final answer. So it did work really beautifully. So again, if you want to check your work to make sure that this is the right answer, we are going to plug 3 into the x. Let's do it because it's a small number. And we have 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 is what? 9. And 9 times 2 is 18. And 18 minus 8 is 10. So we got 10 to the left side of the equation. And let's see if we get 10 to the right side. Let's plug 3 for x. 2 times 3 is 6. And 6 plus 4 is 10. So we got it, right? 10 equals 10. We get the balance. That means we get the true statement, which means 3 is the right answer for our complicated multi-step equations, which was actually fun because we did it step by step.